Ready? Okay, Torah Yosef, page Chof Tes, first column about Chanukah. Like 10 lines in the end of the first column. Okay, now the Rabbi is explaining that the whole inyan of the menorah is the 7 midas, and you have to enlighten the 7 midas of evil, transform them to Kedusha, which is the level of Yaakov, Yud Akev, to bring down the level, the 70 the descendants of Yaakov Avinu going into Mitzrayim, and then you have the Yud Akev, and he's holding on to the level of Esav, that he heals of Esav to transform the level of evil of Esav to Kedusha in all aspects. Okay, so now he says like this: and there has been a by Mekterana. When Adam brings when he lights the candles between in the evening, he brings the Ketores. Same thing in the morning. Like it says in Seder Meracha, we say Rabbi Avim Masada in davening. Hatav shteineres kedemes Ketores. So he says, why is the Ketores? Everything has a reason. The Ketores, the incense was brought after the lighting or the preparation of the two neiros. So now the Alter Rebbe is explaining like this. The concept of the candles, he said he explained before, showing you halos hamidas, elevating the midas, sheyardu v'nishtalshlu b'gashmias hanefesh habamis. The Alter Rebbe explained, we learned yesterday, that everything from Klipa comes from Kedusha. So where does all the love of worldly things come from? All the love of worldly things comes from the love of Kedusha. Whereas the anger and all that comes from Gvur of Kedusha. It starts in Kedusha, it keeps coming down, down, down until... So what's the union of the menorah? To illuminate and bring back the Kedusha that's in the 7 midas rois, to elevate it to Kedusha. Now, what's the inyan of Ketores? Ketores, inyan Allah's Isias, which is a machshava dibur ma'isa levusha amidus, which is the level of daemon. The level of Ketores is to elevate the inanimate. In other words, the menorah is to elevate the midas, the 7 midas. The Ketores is to elevate thought, speech, and action. The thought, speech, and action all have letters. He says, the letters of Machshavdi, Levusha, Nevesh, and he says, the Eis is the Kedusha. What are the letters of Kedusha? It's called Chemes Bas Tzion. It's called the wall of Bas Tzion, which is Yerushalayim, meaning Chemes Shalavonim. Letters are likened to stones. Like we learned in the other Maamar, it says, Shtei Avonim Beina Shtei Botim. 2 letters make 2 words. 3 letters make 6 words, and so on. The pasuk until him David HaMelech says, when is Hashem great and praiseworthy? In Ir Elokeinu. And we learned, Chassidus explains, a mos a nikra godol. When is Hashem called great? Only be'ir Elokeinu. When he comes into the level of city, represents houses, letters, words. When do you see, when is Hashem able to be proclaimed as great? When he comes into the level of Asius. What does it mean? Now how do you elevate letters that fell into Klipa? In other words, when everything again comes from Kedusha, yeah? So if you have letters that you think wrong, speak wrong, action of words wrong. So how do you elevate that? It originated in Kedusha, from Esis of Kedusha, and then it fell down into Klipa. So now how do you re-elevate the menorah? Kindling the menorah is elevating the midas. How do you elevate Machshava Dibur Ma'isa? So he says, it's only through the bringing down of Chochmah, ki ein ar Chochmah ela b'midas atzmam. Ava v'yiram shem b'chinas ruchnis. Aval gashmis ha'esis. Ein lehem aliyah k'maydei hakteres. Okay? The only way you can elevate Asius is only through the level of Keteris. Why? He explains. Shesamoni Akteris hoyu medvarim she'en b'hem tam klal ve'enam min meichel klal. The Keteris, all the spices, were not edible. They weren't edible at all. Hareim bechinas daimim, they're only an inanimate thing. It's not plant, it is plant, but once it's made into potatoes, it's like daimim. Yet, smell actually returns the soul. If the soul faints, if a person faints, you give it strong smell to wake it up. Right? So reach it becomes reich nicherach Hashem. I'll explain this whole thing. So he says, what does Keteris do? Keteris takes inanimate things that have no taste, like letters. Letters themselves are nothing. Letters only make sense when you put it together in a word. Letters themselves are nothing. It's like diamond. It's inanimate. So now, what does Keteris do? Keteris takes this stuff that has no taste, no nothing, and you make it reich nicherach Hashem. You elevate it. And what's more interesting, Chassidus explains, Keteris had an advantage even over Korbanos. Korbanos were not allowed to be bought from Terefa things. Right? Klipa cannot be elevated. Last year we learned in the Maamar Vayishlach, that in the Matonet to Esav was Gemalim and Chamerim, all the treifa animals. Because he wanted to reach Shinteo over there, whatever. But normally Korbanos had to be from something only of Klipas Nega. And you elevate the Kedusha. In the Keteris, you have mamish the level of transforming evil to Kedusha. Because the Gemara said, we learned, Chalbana, one of the 11 spices, Chalbana Reichera stunk, had an awful smell. So the Gemara says, why was Chalbana one of the Keteris? So the Gemara says, because any tefillah that doesn't include the sinners is not a tefillah. Any fast that doesn't include the sinners, the Gemara says, is not the praiseworthy fast. What did Keteris do? Keteris basically elevated Chalbana into Reich Nicherach Hashem. Meaning, Keteris is actually the transformation of the total Shalosh Kripas HaTameis to Kedusha. Korbanos didn't do that.
Is there any relationship between this concept and the fact that Rabbi was giving people a $1 bill as a called God was giving Torah to?
I haven't the faintest idea.
Rabbi, what if I got lost?
Oh yeah?
Rebbe started telling us about menorah, then he goes to get Torah.
Right.
What is that?
Now, no, because he says, before the Keteris, before the menorah was lit before the Keteris. But right after, the Pasuk says, as soon as he lit the menorah, he does the Keteris. So obviously there's a connection between the Aved of the menorah and the Aved of the Torah, because the Torah is emphasizing Ubalei Saren Sanes Yaktirano, right away he does the Keteris. So the Alter Rebbe is explaining what's the connection between the menorah kindling, spiritually, and the Keteris. Now, the menorah is to kindle the 7 midas. Keteris is to elevate even the daimim, even the inanimate level, even the level of evil is also to elevate to Kedusha.
So how do you elevate the machshava now
To what?
The machshava, the bad thoughts, for bringing out chokhmah?
Yeah. Chokhmah is the level of bittul.
So say that or practically study or fill up the mind with something Kedusha.
Correct. Because when your mind, you can't think 2 things at the same time. Chassidus explains, how can we control our thoughts? They keep pumping in thoughts from who knows where. So the answer is, because you can't think 2 thoughts at the same time. Why can a Beinoni The concept of Beinoni controls machshava, right? If he willingly thinks an evil thought for 1 second, he's not a Beinoni anymore, right? Alter Rebbe says clearly in Tanya. So how does it work? Because as soon as you get a bad thought into your mind, before you invite it in, immediately you think a positive good thought. And that a person could do. It's hard, but a person could do it.
Practice.
Yeah, not practice, just do it. Just do it. So he says like this, V'hinei kol zeh bebeis hamikdash she'em makriven korbanos. All these physical aveda, menorah, kteres, korbanos, that was when they had a physical Beis Hamikdash, right? But now we don't have a physical Beis Hamikdash. So now the question, how do we have the aved of menorah, kteres, korbanos in our personal life? He says, okay? So now we have korbanos. So, what? I'm sorry, tefillah instead of korbanos. So we need to understand all these aspects of davening. How do we find the kteres in davening and the menorah in davening or whatever? He says like this: V'hinei seid amarach, in the order of the korbanos. Hayadam atamid kredem latavish teineres. The blood of the korban tamid they would sprinkle on the mizbeach before the preparation of the 2 candles. V'neres would be before the kteres. Kteres would be before nimsa shadam atamid. So what was the order? First was the Dama Tamid, before the Neiris, then the Kteris, and then then the voting of the Tamid was after the Kteris. He says like this, let's see what he says. Okay? Let's understand this whole Aved of the Beis Hamikdash in davening. So he says like this. What's the primary concept of davening and Shema? Limbs and nafshi b'krishma. To have Mesiras Nefesh to Hashem. The whole purpose of davening is to come to v'ahavtas Hashem Elokecha, to love Hashem. That's tam love Hashem in a way actually of Mesiras Nefesh, b'chol levavcha, even if they take your life. V'hinei yesh beis pa'am in Mesiras Nefesh. There's 2 levels of Mesiras Nefesh. There's nafshi be'echad, that when you say Hashem echad, you're really ready to give up your neshama. U'b'chol levavcha afilu neitos nafshach. Now the Alter Rebbe says like this: the whole purpose of davening is to come to Mesiras Nefesh. And by that, when I learned it 1,000,000 times, Mesiras Nefesh doesn't mean killing yourself. Mesiras Nefesh means giving up your will for the sake of Hashem. But we find the Mesiras Nefesh of Echad, Hashem Echad, like by Mitzvah Yom Kippur, we say, the Shalom writes, when you say Shema Yisrael, you're supposed to have in mind that you're ready to give up your life for Hashem. And then you have the Mesiras Nefesh of B'chol Levavcha, that even with all your heart, even with the Yetzer Hara. What's the difference between the 2? He says like this. He says like this. The bittul of Hashem Echad, that's the Nefesh Shulakis's bittul. B'chol Levavcha is the bittul of the Nefesh Abamis. So we're talking about 2 separate Mesiras Nefesh. There's a Mesiras Nefesh in Nefesh Shulakis, and there's Mesiras Nefesh of the Nefesh Abamis. And he says, Limbs and Nafshi Be'echad Kol Nefesh Shulakis, which is bittul mamish, like it says, Chai Hashem Hashem Madati Lefonav. The neshama stood, meaning total level of bittul. B'chinas Hamida, b'chinas bittul b'Eretz Baruch Hu mamish. And b'chol nafshecha is the gam and nefesh habamis should be the level of skafia v'sir tzapcha. Meaning like this, in practical language. What shaykhis is there, Mesiras Nefesh and the Nefesh Shulakis? The Nefesh Shulakis is batul to Hashem. What in the world is shaykh to have Mesiras Nefesh of the Nefesh Shulakis? So the answer is very simple. The bittul of the Nefesh Shulakis, Mesiras Nefesh of Elokis, is not against not doing evil. The Mesiras Nefesh of the Nefesh Shulakis is in Kedusha itself, to go out of Mitzrayim, to have Mesiras Nefesh, meaning to do more than the Nefesh Elikis is accomplished, is accustomed to by itself in the level of Kedusha. Like the Alter Rebbe explains, the primary concept of Chassidus is not only to change the natural instinctive bad midas, that's Musar. Chassidus comes along and says to change the nature even of your good midas. In other words, you daven and you learn and you do all things of Kedusha. So what do you have to change your nature? If you learn 10 minutes, you have to learn 11 minutes. If you daven this, you have to daven better. Changing your nature. That's Mesiras Nefesh, not the Nefesh Bamis. Because you're talking about Kedusha.
How could Nefesh Bamis have Mesiras Nefesh? It's a self-interest. How could it have...
What does it mean? Even if they take your Nefesh. Nefesh Bamis. That means even the Nefesh Habamis gives over its Nefesh to Hashem. In other words, I could want to do something wrong, and I don't. Yes? I'm dying to do something, to eat something I'm not allowed to eat. And I break myself, I don't eat it. That's Mesiras Nefesh of the Nefesh Habamis. The Nefesh Elikis never wanted to eat it anyway. It's not fighting Nefesh Elikis not to eat the tray for food.
It's restraining.
No, but that's Mesiras Nefesh. I want to do something and I give up my will. The Mesiras Nefesh of Echad is in Kedusha itself to break my nature and to do more than what I could do. All in Kedusha. So there's Mesiras Nefesh of Nefesh Elikis, and there's Mesiras Nefesh of Nefesh Habamis. It's very simple, very practical. Nefesh Habamis, Mesiras Nefesh is when I want to do something which is not allowed. Okay? Take it even into a more refined level, Mesiras Nefesh. It's kosher. Glatt kosher. Right? And yet, I don't eat it. Like the Yiddish expression, Chassidim used to say, was metar nicht, tar mir nicht. Und was man merkt, darf man nicht. What you're not allowed to, you're not allowed to. And even what you're allowed to, you don't have to. So you could be like the Ramban writes, you could be a novel, you could be a despicable person. You could be a despicable person, all within halacha. In other words, the mashal they give, you can eat kosher food, but you can fresh like a chazer. Are you doing a sin? No, it's all kosher. Are you despicable? Yeah.
You're not breaking the law.
That's what he's saying. You're despicable within the law. I'll give you another example. A very wealthy man puts a penny, literally a penny into the pushka. Did he do an Avera? No. But he's despicable. But he's despicable.
Yes.
You're a what? You're putting a penny into the pushka. You didn't do anything wrong.
Not in the first minute.
That's whatever. Let's not get there. You just give, you speak nice about everybody, even the first minion. No, I'm saying, really, did he do an Avera? No. But he was despicable.
Why?
Huh?
I missed out.
A guy is very wealthy. Yeah? He should be putting, let's say, $10 into the pushka. And he puts a penny. Did he do an Avera? He didn't do an Avera. But he's despicable. A guy loads plates up like this, and presses it all. He didn't do an Avera, but he's despicable.
It's despicable,
but that's all Mesiras Nefesh of Nefesh Habamis. Even that level is not Mesiras Nefesh of Nefesh Elikis. Even to refrain from Kadeshim to you, right? That a Jew sanctifies himself even with those permissible things. That's still Mesiras Nefesh of Nefesh Habamis. The Mesiras Nefesh of Nefesh Elikis is in Kedusha itself. I'm learning, I'm davening, but make it better. I'm accustomed to learning 10 minutes a day. Break it and learn 11 minutes. That's Mesiras Nefesh, and other Nefesh Abamis. That's Mesiras Nefesh and Nefesh Elokis. It's a different level of Mesiras Nefesh. It's a different style of Mesiras Nefesh. And he says, the level of Amida Bittul Berintok, Bechinas, Bechol Nafsh Eine Shagam, Bechinas Nefesh Abamis, Hoye Bechinas Iskafi, Visitach. Even the Nefesh Abamis breaks evil and transforms evil. That's Mesiras Nefesh of the Nefesh Abamis. Shemesiras Nefesh Zu Eina Be'echod, that's not in the level of Echod, but it's in the level of Baruch Shem Kved Malchus Leil and Void. Yichud Atah, the lower level of Bittul. Well, Inyan, he says like this. What's this Inyan? So, bro, what's he saying over here? That the Ikad Inyan of davening is Mesiras Nefesh. You have Mesiras Nefesh of the Nefesh Elokis, you have Mesiras Nefesh of the Nefesh Abamis. Right? You have these two things. Well, Inyan, Kinei Neida, Bechinas, Mamala Kolalmin, Seviv Kolalmin, the level of Mamala and Seviv, Hakol Nikra, Bechinas Shmi Bilvad. Even the level of Seviv Kolalmin is only a revelation of Hashem. It's only the name of Hashem, the revelation of Hashem. It's not Hashem himself. Or like we say in Baruch Shomer, Melech Meshubach Mfar Adei Ad Shmei HaGodol. It's only Shmei HaGodol, meaning Adei Ad Pirish Kol Aliyas, all the elevations. Me'elam Ad Elam Be'ilu Yachad Ilu in elevation after Elam Abba Ganed No Al Ying Mesa Mashiach Chiz HaMesim. V'kama Revav Ribu Revavis El Mitzvecho. It's all the infinite level revelations of godliness that exist. And he says, Be'emes Yashar Be'yoser Adinkes. There's actually infinite revelations of godliness. Like it says, the Gdud of Ein Mispar. There's no amount of his troops. Ugdud of Ein Malachim Shem Bechinas Chitzeni Yisraelim. Umikoshkin, how much more so, Neshama, such a Pnim Yisraelim is the essence of the world. Ein Zal Bechinas Shmei Bechinas Kved Malchut. So he says like this. The highest emanations, the highest revelations of godliness are only the name of Hashem, which is not pretty far from the essence. Like Chassidus explains, you have Or and you have Shem. Shem in Hebrew, not embarrassment. Name. You have revelation and you have name. Okay? Both reveal the source, basically. What does that mean? The difference between Od and Shem, Chassidus explains, when you look at light, even if you don't see the source, you know what the source is. Od reveals the source. You look outside, you know that's sunlight. You don't see the sun, but you know that this light is a revelation of the sun. It's not the light in here, which is a revelation of the light bulbs. It's a revelation of Ord is Megala Demord. From Ord you can see who the source is. Name, when you hear somebody's name, you don't know who he is. But when you call somebody by name, the whole essence comes to him, comes to you. Ord doesn't have that. Ord is only Me'ein Amor. So the advantage of Ord, light, is that it reveals the source. Name doesn't reveal. From the name you don't know who the source is. But the name, when you call the person, it brings the essence. So there's an advantage of Or and there's an advantage of Shem. Each one has its advantage. What?
Remember is this the altar of it? Is this altar of it? Is this altar of it?
Right. The Tzemach said it, guys. The Zayda. No, the essence of the person. That's name. When he said Zayda, he called him his name. That brought the whole essence down.
Ziv is or is it name?
Ziv is Or. Because Ziv, Or, reveals the Mord. You have a name, Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, you don't know who the person is. You have the same thing, one second, you have the same thing, while we're off topic. You have the same thing, there's a hashpah of a Rav in Talmud. When a Rav teaches a Talmud, the teacher teaches the student. He's giving sustenance to him. Correct? But nevertheless, when you see the student expounding, you don't know who his teacher is. But there's another sheva of a parent creating a child. The father gives the zera, the seed that creates the child. There's also hashpah. But then the child is brakar davor. The child is the essence of the father. That hashpah, because hashpah of hilod, of birth, is a more internal, essential revelation of the father versus the teacher that's only giving external knowledge. That's why you can look at a child, many times you'll know who the father is. But you look at a student, you don't know who the teacher is, who his teacher was. So again, there's a lot of different things. You have or, you have shame, you have different hashpah. You can give somebody food to eat also, it's also hashpah. You're also mashpia food to the person. But it's different than the hashpah of seichel. And that's different than the hashpah of giving birth.
What is all got to do with Hanukkah?
With what?
What is all this thing got to do with Hanukkah?
Hey, stick around for a while. He says, at the end of the next, now we can understand Chanukah. So don't rush. Take your time. You got time. The Rebbe is explaining, but you want to know basically where it's going. The Rebbe said we have to understand the inyan of the Ner Chanukah. Why the Chachamim made the inyan of Ner by Chanukah is remembrance of the miracle that they didn't do by any other miracle. So the Alter Rebbe started to explain what Chanukah is, right? The 7 meters, the menorah, right? 7 meters. And then the Alter Rebbe is explaining, but you have a second called Keteiros, which is also a Veda connected to the menorah. And then the Alter Rebbe says we don't have a Beis HaMikdash today, so all these levels are internal, personal levels. He starts saying this is the level of davening.
How do you get around that? There's only 7 and Chanukah is 8?
Because the koyach of Chanukah is greater than the menorah of the Beis HaMikdash. That's why we mentioned Chanukah, the menorah was lit all the way inside. It couldn't illuminate the darkness of the street. And you lit it before Shkia.
If it has more koach, there should be less candles.
What?
If it has more koach, it should be less candles.
No, because 7 represents the 7 midas, nature. 8 represents supernatural. And that's why the supernatural is able to illuminate Pesach Beising Mibachutz, even the Kalya Rigla, the Talmudoi, right, the nation called Talmud, which was the same letters of Meredas, Chanukah kindles and illuminates even the darkness of the world. The menorah couldn't do that. And that's the advantage of Chanukah over the Beis HaMikdash. And that's why another thing, L'chaira, if you think about logically, what should be the mitzvah of Ner Chanukah? To commemorate the menorah in the Beis HaMikdash? So you know what we should really do? Light 7 candles for 8 days. Every night we should light 7 candles, like the menorah in the Beis HaMikdash. No, but why don't we light 7 each night? It would logical, if you wouldn't be the Chacham, thank God. If none of us would be the Chacham, thank God. You would institute a miracle to commemorate the miracle that happened by the menorah, right? During Chanukah. So what would you do? We would light the menorah for 8 days. What's lighting the menorah? 7 candles. So if you think logically, the mitzvah of Chanukah should have been every day to light 7 candles for 8 days. It's not like that. It's to commemorate something and it's completely different. One night is 1, then 2, then 3, then 4. Every night you light it at dark, you light it outside. It's a completely different thing. The answer is, it's the same concept of the menorah illuminating the world, but in a much greater level. That's the Koyach of Chanukah.